Celeb Savant is a career retrospective type interview focusing on singers, actors, and industry experts. Join Barrett Edelstein now as he dives into the entertainment world.
British actress Charlotte Jackson Coleman is a familiar face to UK audiences from her celebrated career as a television presenter on Sky Sports News, ITV 71 Degrees North, and as a team captain on the Big Quiz sports special. Charlotte made the bold leap into acting in 2021. Since training professionally and switching careers in her 40s, Charlotte has emerged as an exciting new talent. Her work includes the BBC series Silent Witness and the critically acclaimed indie film A Positive Contribution, which earned her a Best Actress nomination at the Romford Film Festival, with the film also winning Best Film at the Cambridge Film Festival. In Charlotte's latest project Secrets, she delivers a breakout performance in a tense and emotionally charged new psychological thriller which can be seen on Apple TV and Amazon Prime in the UK and USA. In Secrets, Charlotte plays a gripping lead as Sammy, a resilient single mum returning to her hometown after the brutal murder of her mother. As Sammy struggles to protect her daughter and conceal her traumatic past, the film unravels layers of buried truth, generational pain, and emotional reckoning. Up next on Celeb Savant, discussing her journey in front of the camera and her latest project Secrets, is Charlotte Jackson Coleman.
Where in the world are you and how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Lovely to see you and meet you. I'm in the UK in a town called, I'm in a village, Easton, but in Winchester. So it's sort of South Coast way.
At what age, whether as a child or teenager, did you feel cool? I want to be in the entertainment world. And how did that journey progress?
It was a bit of a slow starter for me. I remember being at school and doing some acting and loving it. And I used to get a thrill being on stage. And it was just a feeling I couldn't really sort of describe or emulate anywhere else. And then I went to a very academic school, and to the point where if you got below the A, the top grade, it was thought to not be that good. And my father was a doctor, my grandfather. And so in actual fact, I didn't really think acting or anything like that, or even presenting at this point, was an option, because there was no one around me that did it. So I did a year at medical school at university. And then luckily my parents were okay. I was like, this isn't for me. I want to be doing something else. So the happy medium was I took a journalism course and I just started presenting random stuff from shopping as I was studying, sort of shopping TV to game shows. And then I worked for the Press Association building in London Victoria. And that was quite good. But I was also sort of focused on sport as well. But it was really good being in that building because you saw the world news coming in and the experience was really good. And the ITV News was filmed there. And I started working for a different channel after that called Setanta. And before that, actually, I had done a role for a magazine-style show called Lounge Living. So it was probably later in life. I didn't start presenting probably till my 20s. And then it was sort of like a chain reaction to the point where I was doing different shows. Eventually got on Sky Sports, and I did the morning show of just Sky News as well, focusing on sports. And then I did some stuff for ITV, which included 71 Degrees North, co-presenting that with Paddy McGuinness, which is like a winter version of I'm a Celebrity, The Jungle, which I think they have in other countries as well. So that was quite good because all the celebrities on it didn't think after the camera stopped, they'd have to stay out in the Arctic in the cold. And they did. So it was a bit of an experience for them. And then it sort of was just like a chain reaction of stuff. And I was asked by someone I met at a corporate job I was doing to just come and do the Keith Lemon film. And I was a presenter on the Keith Lemon film, but I also had scenes off camera as a presenter. So I did that. And at the time, just by chance, the head of Lionsgate came down. He's not head anymore, but Nick Manzi came down. He was head at the time. And he was like, oh, you should be doing this. He called me One Take Wonder because I think it's because I used to do live TV, a lot of live TV. So obviously I did pre-records as well. And I just really enjoyed it. And he sort of said, you should be doing this. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And I had like, I was working a lot. I was presenting, enjoying it. Had a mortgage to pay. I was like single, was before marriage and children. And I was like, well, I'm going to keep doing what I was doing. I was enjoying it. And like we had guests sometimes, like Richard Keel, who's obviously not unfortunately with us at the moment, who was Jaws and James Bond, and then he was in Happy Gilmore. And I had such good experience. I did the Ballon d'Or, where the first time it was televised, I gave Lionel Messi his award in 2009. And then I did so many different jobs. Looking back, I was talking about it the other day, I was like, oh wow, I've actually done quite a lot in that other sort of genre of career, but still in the media. A big quiz on ITV for sports, A League of Their Own on Sky One. And then it just happened that I moved around a reasonable amount for my husband's job, and my children were in school. My youngest has started school. I was like, right, actually, I still want to act. It's still in me. I've still been looking around trying to do some classes. And so I had done some random ones online during COVID. And then I applied for an acting course, graduated in 2021 as a mature student. And just it's been going from there. I was lucky enough to get on Silent Witness, and I've done some horror films, a kids film. And this is my first, Secrets is my first lead role in a feature film.
Are you still doing presenting as well now, or focusing solely on acting?
So I am focusing solely on acting at the moment because it does take up a lot of time, and especially if you get a role, you need to be able to put everything into it. And if I was going back to presenting, it would take up such a huge chunk of my time that I wouldn't be able to focus on acting. So I have taken the decision to step on to acting more, focus on it. But that's not to say I'd never go back, because I did enjoy it. But it's what I've always wanted to do. It's only been a few years in the grand scheme of things, because I speak to other actors and they've been acting since they're like 15 and they're now like in their 40s. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a proper go. And I think it's very difficult to focus on other stuff when you're really wanting to be at the top of your game on acting.
We'll get to the acting in a moment, but let's go back to the presenting. How did you fall into the sports area? Are you passionate about it, or was there just an opening in that sports area that allowed you to say, okay, well, I'm in doing presenting, I enjoy it, let me grab that opportunity?
My mum was a PE teacher, sports teacher. I played lacrosse and tennis for Hampshire. So I've always been very sporty. Grew up watching football, supported Liverpool because my parents are from Liverpool. And so I've always been into sport. My whole family has. Play golf now as well. So I did kind of fall into it, but I was happy to, if that makes sense, because I wasn't doing sport initially. And then a role came up. This is the one in the Press Association bill that came up as a sports presenter, and it was writing and presenting sports news. It was just as the online stuff was sort of happening, and the bulletins sent to your phone, and like sports news on the internet. And it was just as that was starting to become popular. And so I applied for the job, and they interviewed me. And I did know about sport because I followed it. I didn't know every single thing about every single different sport, but I did know about football. I knew about cricket, and obviously learned more as I was going along. But I had a very good general knowledge, probably more so than the average person on sport, because I really enjoyed it and I loved it. And I think if you're talking about something you love and enjoy, it comes across better anyway. But I had done other presenting before that. So it was a bit of luck as well. The job came up and I applied for it and I got it because it was my first actual sports job. And then from there, I got offered a job at Satanta Sports. And then Satanta Sports didn't buy the Premier League rights again in the UK, which is Sky was like the monopolising it. And then Sky Sports just offered me a job when they knew that Satanta wasn't happening.
And how long after being a sports news reader did you sort of iterate into other areas like the big quiz and that similar to I'm a Celebrity? What were those wings and how long did they take to take flight, so to speak?
Well, it was kind of parallel to it because I did a few of those jobs and then went back to Sky, because I would say Sky was my bread and butter. Like that was my, continuous job that I knew was my income. So I went off and did the Arctic. I got the okay from the Sky Sports boss and spent the month there, did the big quiz. So it was kind of alongside, but I guess it was a few years after doing it. But Sky Sports and especially Sky Sports News, it was played in every like pub, lots of different sort of public venues. So it was on all the time. And I think it was when there was less presenters, so you were more well known. And so, like, for instance, went on like the Chase and Pointless, like, as you know, they have the celebrity versions. They have their quizzes here. I think you might have, they have the Chase in other countries.
We've got the Chase and we've got Pointless. So that's why I'm just giddy. Because we know both of them, yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite good. On the Chase, myself and my team, we all won £100,000, so 25,000 each for our charity, which was good. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Pointless didn't do so well, actually, no. But so that was good. And then they had shows like Splash, which was a diving show, which I think I was in the first series, and they had a second series, and then I didn't get commissioned again. But that was a diving show. They had Tom Daly, the diver, teaching me to dive. I broke my toe training. Hello.
Oh, my word.
I know, and I still dived, and I got through to the semi-final with my broken toe. I think it might have seen a bit of a sympathy vote. But I dived off the 10-meter board, but with my broken toe. But I couldn't do any of like the somersaults, so it was like a really boring. But apparently, it was like well executed, so I stayed on. But yeah, I didn't win. But so I think at the time, you know, Sky was very popular sports, and I was doing a lot of other jobs alongside it, like especially corporate jobs. And I had really good fun, actually. I remember I was hosting this thing that Kylie Minogue was at, and Take That. And so, yeah, a lot of the time I've also it wasn't just Sky. So I was doing things like for Cheltenham races, and I was doing stuff for the golf. And Bobby Robson, who used to be a England manager, worked in Portugal as well. He is not alive anymore, unfortunately, but his family still do it. It's the Bobby Robson Celebrity Golf Classic, which was always filmed out in Portugal. That's where I met my husband, actually. So all these things, were sort of happening alongside each other. And I was still doing Sky when myself and my family had to move to China for my husband's job before COVID. And we came back before COVID. But yeah, they all sort of went alongside each other.
You were doing the sports news, presenting. When you were doing these things along the side, like the first thing you did outside of the sports news, and obviously the news is more structured, there's more sort of rules in inverted commas with it when you compare to presenting other things. Because you had the foundation of the sports news, did you find the other presenting styles easy, or did it take you a moment to embrace those styles?
So I think because before Sky Sports, it was for a channel on Sky called UTV, which was not very popular, I don't think, but it was a program called Lounge Living, which was a live interactive TV show, magazine style show, unscripted for 2 hours. But you'd have obviously your structure, but we'd talk about the newspapers, we'd have little different subjects we're talking about, we'd have guests. So I was used to that before Sky. So I think when I did Sky Sports News as well, I think my boss actually did like it, but I was probably, obviously unless it's like a really serious subject or something about it, I was quite chatty, but he said he quite liked the warmth that I did. So I was quite like less like that. Although obviously there were certain times when things happen that you have to be very straight down the middle, very, lots of somber things happen that you have to report on, very serious things or allegations to people. So you have to stay straight on that. Because sports news on the whole is entertainment, right? Because it's sport, but unless it's a serious thing. But I think the thing that people most are shocked by, I guess, and funny enough, my dad mentioned it yesterday because I was talking to someone else and he asked me a question and I still answered, was when you've got the producer or director in your ear and you're still talking or delivering what you're supposed to. And some people can't wrap their head around the fact that you can do both. I don't know, but a lot of people can, obviously, because that's what presenters do, as you probably know. But I embraced it. I quite like the chatty side, but also, the serious side you have to take on board. You have to step up when something like that happens, and it's required to be more straight down the middle.
What do you enjoy about acting?
Oh, I kind of just I enjoy the whole process. Because as well, so this film is not funny, but because it's the character I play is so layered and so emotional, and I go through so much. And when you tell people, they're like, "Oh God, and did you enjoy that?" Yes, it's emotionally draining, but it's really, I enjoy the whole process of the background of the character. So I really go into their history and their backstory, because I think you've got to know who you are when you're acting, so that if a script's changed or if you're asked to improvise or something, then you know your character, so you know what they would do. So I go through the whole backstory from day dot, like how they grew up, where they grew up, everything really. And that's when I was training, that was one way you could do it. And I really liked that. As Stephen Graham, the actor, I remember reading that he does a similar thing because it's quite fun. So he writes a diary as well, and I'll write a diary. But he also gets aftershave for each different character because he's really stimulated by the smell, a scent. And I quite often do a playlist of music as well, especially if you need to get your head in somewhere, because I find music very emotive. So I just like the whole process. I love becoming a different character. I love you sort of take yourself somewhere you wouldn't go as yourself. But obviously I always think in the character there's an element of yourself because it is you, but you take different parts and you study the character and you can embody a different character. And I just enjoy the whole process. And even like the things like the arguing scenes, I really like it because he sort of takes you out of your comfort zone.
When you started acting, your first few roles, were there aspects about it? I understand that you had the presenting background and the camera aspects around that, but specifically moving to acting, were there elements around it that you didn't realize were part of it, which you only found out once you started acting?
Obviously, this was before I got on set, so I found all this out before. But I guess before you actually train, and everyone has their own way, their own preferred method, and some people, go full on method acting. Some people use elements of it. Some people just use a completely different way. But I was surprised from just watching TV, and then you see some really good actors, and some actors, the really good actors, obviously you don't think they're acting, they're really believable, they're in the moment. And I probably didn't realize how much work you have to put in to the character and to all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes before you're there. Because a lot of the work and a lot of the things you write down about the character are nothing to do with the script, nothing to do with what you're doing. So I guess I didn't probably realize how much hard work you have to do as an actor if you want to be good. I think on higher budget stuff, it would be the amount of takes you can do, or in sort of contrast to that, if it's not such a big budget, you literally have 1 or 2 takes and then you're done, and you won't necessarily get feedback. And as an actor, you're like, oh, was that good? Was that bad? But I've learned that if they've moved on, they're pleased if you've done one take, because it's almost, unless they're getting a different angle or something happened technically, or then that's when they do the same shot, the same thing every time. Because it's sort of learning that you don't, I guess actors could be a bit needy and was that good enough? Was that all right? Should we, I could do it again. I think I can do it better. But if they move on, be pleased with what you've done, and also trust the director. If the director's pleased and got what he wants. And also, actually, another thing I have learned is, this is from directors and editors telling me, that they can totally change the story in the edit. Yes, of course, about editing and what goes where, what shot goes where, but they can literally change the atmosphere, the feeling, build the tension just from the edit. They can make you look really bad, someone told me, in edit, or really good, depending on, what's going on. So that's another thing I've learned as well. Just trust the people around you as well.
When you write the history of the character and you write this whole journey and, where they were born, blah, 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 is that for yourself, or do you share that with the production and directors as well?
No, that's purely for myself. It's purely for myself to, So it's basically just so, because you're a person, right? You are like you are because of your history. You might have certain ideas or certain things that you might dislike or like. And a lot of it is from your past, right? I am who I am because of what's happened to me in my past. So you've got to kind of get to know the character and why they're like that. And I think also, if you're playing a character that, if on paper you're they're not very likable, it's obviously you, so you've got to like the character as well. But no, that is all for me. Unless sometimes they say okay, how do you see this? Why do you think that she's like this? And then you obviously share it. But that's purely for myself knowing the character and how the character would act in that situation.
Tell us more, or what you can, about secrets.
Right, yes, it's very difficult to talk about the film without giving much away, but it's about a single mother, Sammy, who I play. Her mother is, I can say this happens right at the beginning, is brutally murdered at the beginning. So Sammy's forced to go back to her childhood home a place where she's been avoiding for the last 20 years, basically running away from her past. And a chain of events happens, which forces Sammy to face her past. And Sammy goes on a downward spiral, which ends in a very tense final scene. And basically, it's a cautionary tale. I'd say, like, at the end, we're hoping people question who was right, who was wrong, who was good, who was bad, whose behavior was justified. It's a moral dilemma going on. But we're hoping, I think, that it pulls you in and the characters pull you in as you go along. As I said, and then it ends in this scene, which it's not like a feel-good film. Like, my mum's desperate for me to do like a happy, nice film that she can watch about. This isn't it. But yeah, we hope it's thought-provoking, psychological thriller. But we're all proud of it. It was a real team effort. And all the rest of the cast and the crew were amazing. You know, there's certain things that happen, like Chris Norton, who directed it. I remember one night, it was particularly cold, sub-zero temperatures, past -5, the coldest night in January last year in the middle of a forest. And he's South African in his flip-flops and t-shirt. He did actually put a fleece on at one point, but like, he was so enthusiastic and so positive. Like, his behavior, his enthusiasm is infectious, and he's like positivity. And he was like, you know, we're all passing around little hot water bottles after when shots were cut, and everyone was like sort of going, come on, we're nearly there. To me, it sort of added to it because I was like thinking, okay, I could use this cold for the character, but no one was more important than anyone else. But he was brilliant. Like, he really helped you sort of carry on. I think when you've got the sort of leader of the film, the director, being like that, you can't help but be the same. And no one was like, really, I mean, a poor guy, one of it was like very shivery and cold, and like we were passing it back. I was like, I don't need the hot water bottle, I've got a jacket on, because my character had a jacket on. So yeah, I think it was a really good experience and I loved it. So basically, it's a psychological thriller film. It's available on Amazon and it will be on Apple. It is available in America on both of those, and Fandango and Hulu as well. So it's on quite a few different platforms. So we're hoping everyone gets to see it. Yeah, I just, like I said, I think if you sit down, get ready for the ride. Don't expect it to be like full on action packed. It is like I said, it's a tense story that it doesn't rush. It sort of creeps up on you. You get immersed in the characters. You sort of start questioning everything. It's very interesting, actually, because I spoke to someone who saw a screen of it, and they were like, they're on the edge of the seat. They did say to me when I was reading the script, did I guess the ending? And I was like, I didn't actually. And a good sign of a script is when I'm reading it, I don't want to put it down. And then I didn't get the ending. To me, that's perfect. But it's interesting to hear, because they were like, oh, I was the same. I didn't expect that. You never know. Obviously, some people will work it out. I knew it, but I'm just quite interested to know if people guessed what was going to happen or not, or if they were like, oh, I had no idea that was coming.
Now, I know it's secretive in your world. Are you allowed to tell us of any other projects that you're working on, or is it all hush hush?
Well, there is another project I'm working on, but it is based on a true story. It will be a TV drama. I'm executive producing on it as well, and I'm acting in it. I'm not actually going to be the main role in it. I'm going to cast someone else as that. But yeah, so it's a story that needs to be told, and it's relevant all around the world. And it's a very serious story. And this actual story of the person, you wouldn't believe, like, had someone told me what was going on and things that have happened, if it was in a TV show, I would be, oh, that would happen. That's a bit convenient. But it's all true. So I'm really looking forward to that. I don't think we're going to start shooting that until the beginning of next year now. And then there's a couple of other things in the pipeline that aren't signed, so I'm not going to mention it. It's all going well. Thank you.
What was the inspiration to executive produce a project? And it's your first time doing this, correct?
It is. Well, so basically, Chris Norton, who and his sister Lizzie, who do Monkey Dribble Films, who did Secrets, he was saying you should think of something else that you want to do. I was thinking of some script ideas. So I was thinking of some script ideas. I was thinking of what was relevant for me personally as well. What's dominating my mum's WhatsApp chats on all the school chat is about smartphones and kids being on the phones and the internet. And this is before, I don't know if you've seen Adolescence on Netflix and about the internet. So this is before that came out. So I was doing that, writing a script, thinking of ideas to do that. And as I was Googling to come up with sort of different parts, different elements of the story, I found this lady's story. And that's how I then thought, okay, well, put mine to a side. So then I went to my friend Gary, who's a writer, who's got a few books out, published books, brilliant books. And he's also a screenwriter. And I said, look, I think we should meet her. Would you want to come on board to do the screenwriting with me? And he's like, yes, this is amazing. We need to tell a story. And so then we met the lady, and she really liked Spode. So yeah, I want to do it. And she's actually, funny enough, at the moment, a documentary has asked to do her story as well. But I think they can work symbiotically, because a lot of stories, I think you said Netflix have the actual real life documentary in the story. But ours is very much focused on her, as well as sort of the other thing the documentary is focused on, which I can't say. And so then we've gone to a production company and they're up for it as well. And so, yeah, so that's fine. And then that's how I came on role as executive producer, because I basically started the idea.
It's amazing. So do you think that this project will then inspire you to be more in the production side of future projects?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, at the moment, I love the acting side. The reason I've taken that role is because it was my original idea, and I want to see it through. And I've become very good friends with the lady it's about. She trusts myself and Gary, and, you know, because she had to be behind it. We weren't going to do it without her blessing. It's a very emotional story. So that's kind of why I was involved in it, really, as executive producing that. But I still prefer the acting. Give me a few years down the line and a few more things that I might move across more. But at the moment, I still want to be doing the acting and focusing on that, really.
The podcast is listened to throughout the world. As a final message, what would you like to say?
Just please go and watch Secrets, the film, on Amazon or Apple, wherever you are in the world. I hope you enjoy it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can just message me on social media if you thought that was the ending, because it's so difficult to step back and sort of think, do you get it or did you not? Because once you've been immersed in the story so much, it's very difficult to take a sort of an outside view. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And please go and watch it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Celeb Savant. Please follow Barrett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Celeb Savant. That's CelebSavant.